Okay, it looks like we're on essay 87 in our beautiful book called American Miscellany. It was published in 1865, and we're just reading through it one essay at a time. Our last essay was a nice long one about lectures on astronomy. So that was essay number 86, Lectures on Astronomy, version number 4. And we're now on page 214. And we're reading essay number 87, EsquimauxIndians. So I've never read this essay. Of course, I haven't really read this book. So I'm reading it for the first time, but I can tell already, just by reading the title, that this might be a little bit racist. I don't know. We'll see what happens here. But first of all, before we get into it, I'd just like to say EsquimauxIndians. It's spelled EsquimauX. So it's spelled in a very adorable way with a AUX instead of a O at the end. So it, I'm just gonna say it's cute. It's cute. I like it a lot. So I'm excited to get into it. All right, essay number 87, EsquimauxIndians. The vast region of country lying on the north shore of the Gulf of St. Lawrence and extending to the eastward of the Saguenay as far as Newfoundland is generally known under the name of Labrador. It is an exceedingly wild and desolate region, and excepting an occasional fishing hamlet or a missionary station belonging to the Moravians, its only inhabitants are Indians. Of these, the most famous tribe are the Red Indians, now almost extinct, the Hunting Indians, the Milkmaks, and the Esquimaux. The latter are by far the most numerous, and it is said that their sway extends even to the coasts of Hudson's Bay. They are at the same time the wildest and most rude inhabitants of this wilderness, and in appearance, as well as manners and customs, closely resemble the inhabitants of Greenland. During one of my nautical expeditions down the St. Lawrence, says a celebrated traveler, I chanced to be windbound for a couple days at the mouth of a nameless river on the north shore, where I happened to find a small encampment of Esquimaux Indians. The principal man of the party was exceedingly aged, and the only one who could convey his thoughts in any other language than his own. He had mingled much with the French fur traders of the north and the French fishermen of the east, and possessed a smattering of their tongue. Seated by the side of this good old man in his lodge, with a moose skin for my seat, a pack of miscellaneous furs to lean against, and a rude sea oil torch. Sea oil, I don't know what that is. So a rude sea oil torch suspended over my head, I spent many hours of one long to be remembered night in questioning him about his people. The substance of the information I then collected it is now my purpose to record, but it should be remembered that I speak of the nation at large and not of any particular tribe. According to my informant, the extent of the Esquimau nation is unknown, for they consider themselves as numerous as the waves of the sea. Much has been done to give them an education, and though missionaries of the cross have dwelt among them for about a century, the majority of this people are at the present time in heathen darkness. The men are chiefly employed in hunting and fishing, and the domestic labor is all performed by the women. Their clothes are made in the rudest manner imaginable, and generally of the coarser skins which they secure in hunting. They believe in a supreme being who has a dwelling place in the earth, the air, and the ocean. and who is both good and evil. And they also believe in the immortality of the soul, which they describe as similar to air, which they cannot feel. Their principal men are magicians and conjurers, distinguished, as I infer with good reason, for their profligacy. Whenever a man is sick, they attribute the cause to the alleged fact that his soul has departed from his body, and he is looked upon with contempt and pity. The first man who came into the world sprang from the bosom of a beautiful valley. In this valley he spent his infancy and childhood, feeding upon berries, and having on one certain occasion picked a flower that drooped over one of his accustomed paths, and it immediately became changed into a girl with flowing hair, who became his playmate and afterward his wife, and was the mother of all living. They believe in a heaven and a hell, and consider that the road to the former is rugged and rocky, and that to the latter is level and covered with grass. Their ideas of astronomy are peculiar, for they consider the sun, moon, and stars as so many of their ancestors who have, for a great variety of reasons, been lifted to the sky and become celestial bodies. In accounting for the two former, they relate that there was once a superb festival given by the Esquimaux in a glorious snow palace of the north, where were assembled all the young men and maidens of the land. Among them was a remarkably brave youth, who was in love with an exceedingly beautiful girl. She, however, did not reciprocate this attachment, and did all in her power to escape from his caress. To accomplish this end, she called upon the Great Spirit to give her a pair of wings, and having received them, she flew into the air and became the moon. The youth also endeavored to obtain a pair of wings, and after many months finally succeeded, and on ascending to the sky, he became the sun. The moon, they say, has a dwelling place in the west, and the sun another in the east. They account for thunder and lightning by giving the story of two women who lived together in a wigwam, and on one occasion had a most furious battle. During the affray, the cabin tumbled in upon them, causing a tremendous noise, while the women were so angry that their eyes flashed fire. Rain, they say, comes from a river in the sky, which, from the great number of people who sometimes bathe in it, overflows its banks, and thus comes to the earth in showers. When one of their friends has departed this life, they take all his property and scatter it upon the ground out of his cabin to be purified by the air. But then in the evening they gather it together and bury it by the side of his grave. They think it wrong for the men to mourn their friends, and they think themselves defiled if they happen to touch the body of the deceased. And the individual who usually performs the office of undertaker is considered unclean for many days after fulfilling his duty. The women do all the wailing and weeping, and during their mourning season, which corresponds with the fame of the deceased, they abstain from food, wear their hair in great disorder, and refrain from every ablution. When a friendless man dies, his body is left upon the hills to decay, as if he had been a beast. When their children die, they bury the body of a dead dog in the same grave, that the child may have a guide in his pathway to an unknown land, to which they suppose all children go. Polygamy, as such, among the Esquimaux is practiced only to a limited extent, but married men and women are not over-scrupulous in their love affairs. Unmarried women, however, observe the rules of modesty with peculiar care, and the maiden who suffers herself to be betrayed is looked upon with infamy. When a young man wishes to marry, he first settles the matter with his intended, and then, having asked and obtained her father's permission, he sends 2 old women to bring the lady to his lodge, and they are considered one. Children are taught to be dutiful to their parents, until they marry, they always continue under the paternal rod. The amusements of the Eskimo do not differ materially from those of the Indian tribes generally. They are fond of dancing, playing ball, and a species of disc game, while the women know of no recreation but that of dancing and singing.